On New Year's Eve, a couple drives to Gunjali Falls through the isolated bushlands of Australia. In the car, Sam and her doctor boyfriend Ian are on their way to a riverside beach for a romantic camping trip. They realize that they forgot to pack the champagne, so they stop at a pub to buy a bottle. While Sam purchases the champagne, Ian asks the local man, German, for directions to Gunjali Falls. German tells him their car might not make it because of the rough roads, so he suggests another campsite upriver called Stony Creek. Ian thanks German as the man drives off, and Sam returns with the champagne. Back on the road, the couple share childhood camping stories. Ian spots a truck in the rearview mirror and gets distracted, until Sam tells him they're about to miss their turn. He steers abruptly, causing the car to skid dangerously towards the route. Ian apologizes to Sam for getting distracted, and they carry on down the dirt road. Finally, they arrive at Gunjali Falls and see an SUV. They walk to the campsite and they see an expansive beach. On the other end, they spot a large tent that had already been set up. Meanwhile, at German's house, he tells Chuk to wake up. He releases his dog, Banjo, and tells him to get Chuk. Banjo runs inside the house and jumps on Chuk, who curses German. Back at the beach, Sam tells Ian that they should get married. Ian is taken aback but agrees to his girlfriend's impromptu proposal. They share a kiss and Sam takes out her phone to call her sister, but there's no cell reception. 4 days earlier, Emily takes a selfie in the wilderness using her phone with a yellow phone case. Currently at the beach, Sam looks at the other tent with a concerned look on her face. Ian collects firewood and finds an infant's hat with Ollie written on it. 4 days ago, on the other side of the beach, Emily returns to her family's tent where Margaret Voss, her mother, is holding Emily's baby brother, Ollie. Her father, Robert Baker, prepares their dinner on a table next to the tent. Currently, Ian hands Sam his dad's old pocket knife to help her open a can. 2 nights earlier, outside the Voss-Baker tent, the family sits by the fire. Robert tells them about the decimation of the local indigenous people by settlers at Gunjali Falls. Margaret lightens the mood by asking Robert to play his guitar. He starts to play a Christmas carol, but Emily doesn't want to hear Christmas songs after the holiday. Robert says it's okay to play Christmas songs since it was just 4 days ago. This indicates that the events happening to the family occurred 2 days before Sam and Ian arrived. In the present, German and Chuk drink with 2 women at a pub. Chuk takes a picture of an unamused German, so German tells him to delete the photo. At the beach, Sam goes to the bushes while Ian sits by the fire. Shortly after, Ian hears Sam scream and rushes to see what's wrong. Sam says she heard something, so Ian takes a look around. Sam looks at the other tent, wondering why the campers haven't returned yet. In the restroom, German asks to see Chuk's phone to make sure he deleted the picture. They're interrupted by a local police officer who tells them to stay out of trouble. After the cop leaves, German asks for Chuk's phone again. Chuk hands over Emily's phone and German smashes it on the floor. German doesn't want to go back to jail and reiterates to Chuk that what happens out there stays out there. German says he met a young couple earlier who were heading to the falls, so they should be cautious. 2 nights ago, Emily slept outside the tent while her family slept inside. Suddenly, Emily screams from a nightmare and her parents rush to wake her up. In the present, the pub counts down to New Year's as Chuk approaches the 2 women. He abruptly kisses one of them, so she cusses him out and the women leave. Meanwhile, German drinks outside his house with Banjo. At the beach, Sam and Ian welcome the new year with a kiss inside the tent. Outside the pub, Chuk intensely stares at the young woman from the pub leaving all alone. Back at the beach, Ian is by the bushes urinating. He hears a noise and spots a boar rummaging through their food. He takes their food back to the car and sees it has a flat tire. The next morning, Sam looks over at the other tent, which still looks empty, and walks toward it. 3 days ago, Margaret places a blue hat on Ollie, who's inside a carrier on Robert's back. They ask Emily if she's sure she doesn't want to go on the hike with them, and the teenager says she's sure. Emily takes a picture of her parents and Ollie before they leave. In the present, Sam calls for Ian from the other tent. As he arrives, Sam suspects something isn't right and suggests they report the missing campers. Afterward, they go to their car and Ian says they need to change the tire. He asks Sam to grab their stuff from the beach, so she leaves. 3 days earlier, Emily sits outside as she looks through her photos. Suddenly, she hears a branch breaking but doesn't see anyone. On the hiking trail, Margaret suggests a new kind of therapy to help with Emily's nightmares. Robert expresses his guilt for telling her about the indigenous people's decimation last night. At the campsite, Emily fearfully walks back to the parking area, spooked by the noise she heard. She goes inside the SUV and locks the doors. In the present, while Ian struggles to change the tire, Sam walks back to the parking area from the beach, not noticing the baby approaching her. She places their things inside the car and makes her way back to their tent to get Ian some water. Suddenly, Sam yells for Ian, so he runs to her. Sam shows him the unconscious Ollie lying on the ground. The couple also notices Ollie's filthy clothes and scratches on his face. Ian sees the baby is alive and tells Sam to check the other tent for the baby's things. Moments later, Ian carries Ollie while Sam theorizes that the baby wandered away from camp and his parents are looking for him. Ian estimates that the baby's been on his own for a few days. 3 days ago, Emily slept inside the SUV. In the present, Ollie sleeps soundly in the back seat of Ian's car. Ian suggests he'll walk to the road to get help. Sam thinks they should try driving the car with the flat, but Ian says the car won't make it. They check the SUV and find that it's unlocked, but the keys aren't inside. Shortly after, Ian prepares to walk to the main road, but they unexpectedly hear a car approaching. Back at German's house, German finds out Chuk went hunting and rushes off to leave. At the parking area, Sam and Ian watch Chuk get out of his truck. They ask him for help and show him Ollie. Chuk asks where the baby's parents are and tells them he met the family 3 days ago. He remembers them telling him they were going to the falls. He suggests he and Ian walk to the falls to look for the family before going back to town. The couple reluctantly agrees, so he goes to his truck to get his first aid kit and hunting rifle. He reasons that the gun is for wild pigs. 3 days ago, German and Chuk pull up behind the SUV. Chuk sees Emily sleeping inside and German tells him to bring the girl somewhere private and takes his chance. As German leaves to check for other people at the beach, Chuk leers at Emily through the window. He tries opening the locked door, waking Emily. He tries to get her to come out of the car, but she doesn't trust him, so she honks the car horn. Meanwhile, Margaret and Robert hear the horn. At the beach, German hears the car horn as well. In the parking area, Chuk tells Emily to stop honking the horn, but she continues. On the hiking trail, Robert gives Ollie to Margaret and runs back ahead to the campsite. In the parking area, Emily tells Chuk to leave her alone. German returns and Emily thinks he can help her. However, German brings a hunting rifle back from his truck and points it at Emily to get her out of the SUV. Emily cries as she opens the door and steps out. Chuk sees that the teen girl has wet herself from fear. All of a sudden, Robert comes running, telling the men to get away from his daughter. In the present, Sam waits for the men to get back. She places the pocket knife in her bag in the front passenger seat. 3 days earlier, Margaret finally gets to the campsite and hears voices coming from the parking area. She makes her way inside their tent and places Ollie inside his crib. In the parking area, Robert is unconscious on the ground while the two men hold Emily. Margaret runs and jumps on Chuk and yells at Emily to run. German fires his gun into the air and threatens to shoot Robert if Emily runs away. Moments later, the two men tie the family's hands behind their back and cover their mouths with duct tape. Chuk takes Emily's phone and the keys to the SUV. He gives German the keys, who tosses them into the trees. He tells Chuk to stand the 3 people up. German orders them to walk up the path, leaving Banjo in the truck. In the present, German's truck pulls up behind Chuk's in the parking area. On the hiking trail, Chuk leads the way and Ian sees something shocking in front of him. 3 days ago, Chuk scrolls through the pictures on Emily's phone. He's taken several pictures of the family members with tape on their mouths. He sees the picture with Ollie in it and shows German. They've taken the family to a clearing and tied Robert to a tree while the women are on the ground, clothless from the waist down. German asks Margaret where the baby is and tells her not to worry because they'll take care of him. He asks Chuk if he'd like to take advantage of Margaret again, but Chuk says no. German tells Chuk to bring him the gun, but Chuk refuses. Then, German lifts Margaret up and makes her sit against the tree. He places a can on Robert's head and hands Chuk a rifle. Chuk aims at the can on Robert's head, but it falls off before he can fire. German kicks Robert and reminds him to sit still before placing the can back. He signals Chuk to shoot, but the can falls off. This angers Chuk, who shoots Robert between the eyes. Margaret tries to scream for her husband, but can't. German tries to place the can on her head, but she shakes it off. Margaret refuses to cooperate, so German knocks her out and places the can on her head. He walks over to Chuk and aims his rifle. He misses his shot and tells Chuk it's his turn. Chuk hits the can, then German tells him to set the can back up. German misses the can again, but fires one more time, hitting Margaret's chest. Chuk asks him what he plans to do with Emily, so German walks over to her and fires at close range. Later on, the two men return to the campsite. They check the family's tent, but the baby isn't there. Elsewhere, Ollie cries as he walks alone in the wilderness. In the present, Ian sees Robert's and Emily's bodies in the clearing. He checks to see if any of them are alive, but they're both gone. Chuk worriedly tells Ian that the mother isn't there and they follow her tracks. In the parking area, German asks Sam where her boyfriend is, and she tells him he went to go look for the baby's family. In the wilderness, Ian and Chuk find Margaret and Ian attends to her and removes the tape from her mouth. Margaret utters Ollie's name and Ian assures her that the baby's okay. Behind him, Chuk points his rifle at Margaret while Ian opens Chuk's bag. Inside the bag, he sees rope and duct tape. Margaret recognizes Chuk and attempts to scream, but Chuk shoots her. In the parking area, Sam and German hear the gunshot. German grabs his rifle from his truck as Sam hurries back to the car and locks it. German breaks the car window and she grabs the pocket knife and slashes his arm. He retreats and uses his shirt to cover the wound. Sam grabs Ollie and runs away, so German releases Banjo to follow her trail. In the wilderness, Ian is shaken as he turns to Chuk and asks him if he's going to shoot him too. However, Chuk wants Ian to see him take advantage of Sam first. Ian stands up slowly, then rushes into Chuk, pushing him down. Ian runs as fast as he can back to the campsite with Chuk on his tail. Meanwhile, German thinks the dog found Sam, but Banjo's attacking a wild pig. Sam hears the commotion and runs away from it. In the thick of the forest, Ian tries to elude Chuk and hides under a slope. Chuk aims his rifle, confident he's about to get Ian, and pulls the trigger. He approaches the body, but is shocked to find German with a bullet wound on his chest. While apologizing to German, Chuk hears Ollie's cries and resumes his hunting. Ian knows Sam is in danger, so he sneaks over to German. Meanwhile, Chuk finds Sam and Ollie. Just as Ian is about to take German's rifle, he hears Chuk returning with Sam and Ollie, so he hides. Moments later, Chuk asks German what he should do and German wants him to end his misery. Chuk reluctantly obliges and says goodbye to German before firing. He orders Sam to get up and announces loud enough for Ian to hear that they'll be waiting for him by the rocks. Ian is conflicted while looking at Ollie and German's keys sticking out of his pocket. In the clearing, Sam's hands are tied to a tree branch. She fearfully looks around, spotting Robert's and Emily's bodies. Ian takes advantage of Sam as she pleads for him to stop. In the parking area, Ian starts up German's truck and leaves the campsite. In the clearing, Chuk's vile acts are interrupted by the sound of the truck. He unties Sam's ropes from the tree and drags her along back to the campsite. They stumble upon German's body where Banjo lays beside his master. Chuk tries to get Banjo to come with him, but the dog doesn't obey him. Sam notices that Ollie is also gone, assuming that Ian must have taken the baby. Moments later, they reach the parking area and Chuk throws Sam into his truck. They drive after Ian, whom Chuk calls a horrible boyfriend for leaving Sam behind. Sam corrects him and says that Ian just chose to save Ollie. She tries to grab the wheel, but Chuk punches her. He doesn't see a tree on the road and they crash into it. Hours later, Ian gets to the police station and asks for help. That night, Ian rides with a police officer back to the campsite. On their way, Ian feels guilty for leaving Sam behind. In the truck, Sam wakes up with her hands tied to the steering wheel all alone. She sees the police car lights and switches on the truck's headlights. The police spot the truck and order Ian to stay in the car. Two policemen approach the truck, but then several gunshots take them down. Shocked, Ian moves to the driver's seat but takes a bullet in the arm. Suddenly, Chuk comes limping out of the darkness. Sam gets out of her ropes and runs to the side of the road to hide. Chuk tells Sam that he's going to end Ian's life unless Sam drives him out of there. Sam comes out of hiding and Chuk tells her to get Ian and take him to the other vehicle. Sam asks Ian if Ollie's okay, but Ian says he doesn't know because he didn't take Ollie with him. Back in the wilderness, Banjo hears Ollie's cooing and finds him. The dog lays down next to Ollie, protecting him. In the police car, Ian tries to talk to Sam but she ignores him. Sam steps on the gas even when Chuk tells her to slow down. Ian tries to explain to her that he left her behind because he panicked. Chuk threatens to shoot Ian if she doesn't slow down, but Sam accelerates. Sam turns the steering wheel abruptly and the police car flips over and lands upright. Shortly after, Chuk tumbles out of the back seat. Sam exits the car and Chuk takes a gun from his pocket. Sam slams the backseat door on him and he lets go of the gun. They wrestle on the ground and Sam gets on top of him. She grabs a large rock next to her and bashes Chuk several times. Days later, Sam wakes up in a hospital room. The couple give each other exhausted and mournful looks.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.